Welcome to Historical Cooking. Today we're traveling to India and the reign of the Mughal Empire from 1526 to 1707. We're looking at Persian influences on Indian cooking, specifically chicken korma. Korma is a Persian technique of soaking meat, marinating meat, in yogurt overnight with spices, ginger, garlic. It's then slowly cooked, braised, and then served with rice. Let's get started. What we want to do is we want to add 3 tablespoons of oil. I'm using olive oil since I don't have anything else in the house. We'll heat that up. Once that's a nice temperature, we're going to flavor our oil with some spices. We've got bay leaves, cinnamon, cardamom, and cloves. Now, bay and cardamom are indigenous to India, whereas cinnamon and cloves were imported. Northern India did have a spice called cassia that was native, but we're using cinnamon today, and that's from the Spice Islands to the east, as well as cloves to the east. All right, we've got our oil all nice and warmed up. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our spices, which we've already talked about, in here. We're going to cook those, let them sit in the oil and cook them for about 30 seconds to a minute to get the oil all nicely flavored. I'll wait for those cardamom seeds to start sizzling. My cloves to start smelling. As the spices heat up in the oil, you can smell the nice aromas coming out of them. Perfect. Next, we're going to add onion. We've got about 1 cooking onion chopped up. Stir that up. Turn down the heat a little bit. We don't want the onion to burn, we just want it to brown. So this is going to continue cooking for about 10 minutes. Keep stirring, get all those flavors and spices mixed in with the onions, and we'll see you in a moment. Hi there, welcome back. So our onions are nicely browning in the pan. We've cooked them for about 5 minutes. We've got our cloves and our cinnamon, flavoring the onions with bay and the cardamom seeds, green cardamom seeds. Once the onions are browned, we want to take about 1/3 of a cup of almonds ground and add those to the pan. Almonds are native to, indigenous to India as well. Some of the recipes you might find call for cashews and other ground up nuts. Cashews are actually originally from Brazil, but they're now grown in India. So you can use those, but for an authentic recipe, you want to definitely use almonds. Now, almonds add a lot of richness, their oil, a lot of flavor to the curry. This was also a Persian technique to thicken a curry, to thicken a dish, is to add the almonds. So we want to just continue cooking this in the pan for another 5 minutes or so. Turn down the heat to nice and low. It's drying out a little bit, so I'm just going to add a tiny bit more oil. we'll just let those almonds sort of roast and cook up nice with all the spices and the onions. Once the almonds have been added to the pan and they're cooked for about 5 minutes and you can smell the aroma coming out, you want to take this off the heat completely. Let it cool completely. This is the basis for our marinade. We're going to be adding yogurt once this is completely cooled, and the chicken, wrapping it and leaving it overnight. Our onion and almond, cinnamon, bay leaf, clove and cardamom mixture has cooled. It's time to mix it with the meat that we're marinating overnight. So I have about 3 chicken breasts that I've diced up. You could use lamb if you wanted to, or beef. Maybe even a white fish would work for this recipe, but chicken's a nice one. So we're going to add our mixture to the chicken. And add our Persian influence yogurt, plain yogurt. Mix that all up. Make sure the chicken's nice and coated. Never good with this stuff. Cover it and pop it in the fridge overnight. So our meat's been marinating overnight. It looks a little bit like this. We've got all the yogurt, spices, onion. It's all been mixed in there overnight. Chicken's had time to absorb all those flavors, bring it all out when we slow cook it in our pot. First thing we want to do, we want to add more oil. About 6 tablespoons. When that's heated up, we're going to add chopped ginger and chopped garlic, both from India, and green chilies. Now green chilies are interesting. They are in almost every Indian dish now, in every Indian kitchen across the globe. However, they are not indigenous to India. They were introduced by the Portuguese. Portuguese sent explorers to the Americas, where they brought back agricultural products, chilies, corn, potato, and tomatoes. Tomatoes are another one that's in a lot of Indian cuisine that's not native to India. So we're going to add some green chilies to this. Buddhists generally didn't like any kind of spicy, Hindus and Buddhists didn't really kind of like any spicy dishes, anything with spice in it. They thought that it brought out aggressive and sexual drives. So they avoided consumption of those spices. However, eventually the chili pepper caught on, I guess, and the chili pepper caught on and made its way through all of Indian cuisines. So we're just going to add that to the pot. Let that cook for about 10 minutes until the garlic and the ginger are soft and the oil again is nicely flavored. oil is nicely flavored. Got our ginger and our garlic, our green chilies browning in the oil. Next we're going to add some ground coriander and ground cumin, both indigenous spices, to the pot. We're also going to add something called garam masala. Garam masala, garam means heat. It's Hindi for heat. So it's, and not heat as in spiciness, but heat as in a warming of the body. And masala means mixture. So it's more equated with northern Indian cuisines, and it can be any mixture of spices. It's distinct to region as well as to household. For this one, I've made a very simple masala. It's got cinnamon, nutmeg, both imported from the Spice Islands. We've got cardamom and black pepper. So we want to add about half a teaspoon of that to the mixture. Normally garam masala is sort of served like salt and pepper on a Western dinner table. It's sprinkled, it's rich spices that are sprinkled on the meal just before serving. This recipe calls for it to put it right in the cooking process. I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. Smell the flavors coming out of here. Spices smell gorgeous. I'm going to cook this for about a minute. And we're going to add our marinated meat mixture. Turn up the heat, get it nice, cooking nice and hot, and add the mixture. Alright, this is going to be cooked on high heat for 1 minute. It'll seal the meat, seal all the juices within the pieces of chicken. Coat it all in that nice oily, spicy mixture. Great. 1 minute for high heat. Looking good and smelling gorgeous in this kitchen. After a minute, you'll want to turn down the heat. We want this to slow cook, let the flavors release. We're adding about a tablespoon of sugar and a pinch of salt, maybe 2. Now if you haven't added enough yogurt in your original marinade, you want to add a little bit more now. We don't want this to dry out at all. We want it to cook nice and moist. Alright, so I turned it down. Mine's looking pretty good. I don't think I need any more yogurt. And I'm going to cover it. And this is going to cook very nice and slowly. So our korma's been cooking for about 20 minutes. We've got one final step, one final ingredient, and that's cream. So far the korma has had various influences on its creation. It has indigenous crops to India. We've got onion, garlic, ginger, coriander, cumin, all added. We have a Persian influence, marinating the meat in yogurt overnight. We also have the Persian influence of slowly braising meats. We have an influence. We also have the influence of expensive spices from the east, the Spice Islands from the east being added to add to the complexity of the flavors. The final ingredient, cream, comes from Lucknow in the Oud state. It was an agriculturally rich area, known for its dairy products, agricultural products. It was also the epicenter of culinary creativity at the end of the Mughal Empire and after the Mughal Empire, or after the demise of the Mughal Empire. They added cream to a lot of different traditional recipes, Mughal recipes, to rich them up, intensify them. So what we're going to do is we're going to add about a cup of cream. Turn up the heat just a tiny bit. We're adding about a cup of cream. It's going to make it super rich and super delicious. I'm using whipping cream, full-on cream. All right, so I've turned it up a tiny bit. I'm going to stir this in. We're going to let this cook for another 10 minutes. I'm going to keep the lid off because I want this to thicken a little bit. It's a little bit soupy for my liking. If you want a little bit of a looser dish, more of a soupy dish, you can put the lid back on. But I like my curries to be nice and thick and rich. Bring that up to a boil, and then turn down the heat a little bit so nothing burns, and we'll let that sit for 10 minutes. The korma has been cooking now for 10 minutes with the lid off, so it's thickened nicely and it's ready to serve. I have a handy dandy rice cooker here. I've cooked up some jasmine rice, which is actually Thai rice. It's not traditional basmati rice of India. So this is the exciting part. I like to have my curries in a bowl. You can serve them on a big platter, family style, on a plate. But I like them in a bowl so the sauce drizzles all through the rice. So we've got a little bit of rice cooked in my rice cooker. A little bit more here. And then I've got the korma, creamy, rich, delicious. Sauce here. Might be a bit hot actually. Can just taste a little bit of almond in there. The ginger, there's a little bit of sweetness too from that sugar, and the cream probably added a little bit of sweetness. Almonds made it rich. Absolutely fantastic. It's a beautiful combination of cultures and cuisines coming together in one bowl. A truly authentic Indian dish.